a little late. But work called, so I had to take the call. Just as I was getting ready to go on live, here they come calling. What y'all want? I ain't working. I'm trying to talk to my sugar woogers. But nevertheless, they need you to do something. Okay. When I get through on my live, I get it done today. That's the way it goes. Hold on, I'm getting it together. I had it almost together until the phone rung, and then it's like you got to stop now and do what they want you to do. So I'm gonna give y'all a few minutes to get your notification and come in. Good morning, Miss Jackie. How you doing this morning? Hey, my Fanny, how's it going? Fanny, it's not looking too good. Hold on, let's take a look outside. Your outside probably looks like my outside. Let's see if we can look through this window. Hold on. I don't like waking up to days like this because all I want to do is go to sleep and go to bed. See how dreary it looks out there? Can you see? Or do I have to step out on the balcony for you to get a good view? That's how it's looking out there. It's not looking all that good. And it drains my energy. Oh, y'all, wait a minute. We got to go check this out. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. It rained last night. I didn't even know it had rained. Baby, when I go to sleep, I go to sleep. It is wet out here. It is. And cold. I didn't realize it had rained. It's raining now. It's very, very little, but it's raining. Oh, well, it is what it is. Thank you, God, for another day. Okay. So that's how it's looking in my neighborhood. Mm, mm. But I don't have anywhere I got to go today unless I want to. So all is well. Let me see who else came in. Hey, LaWanda. How's it going? Okay. So y'all know I don't wait till I get a load of people, or I don't wait to see who's coming in and who's not coming in, because it really doesn't matter so far as I'm concerned. Two or three are gathered in his name. We good. Okay. Y'all got your coffee? I got mine. Okay. So this morning, I ran around across a topic last night that a subscriber wanted me to talk about. She went as far as to send me the video of it. Now, I'm not going to play the video to you because I think it's too personal, even though it's out there, you know, in the news. I don't want to do it, but I want to talk about it because we come from all different walks of life, and none of us are the same. Since I've been out here on social media, I realize how different people were raised and what types of environments they come from. It shows people, whether you realize it or not, as you age, it shows the type of homes, the type of parenting. Because, again, when you were a child, you thought as a child, but when you became a grown up, you thought as a man. Okay? So, whatever happened in your younger years, whether you try to hide it or not, it reflects in your older years. Hey, Lakeisha. The article today to me was very interesting because it's about twins. I'm not a twin, I'm a single. It's about adopted twins who were placed in foster care. I never stopped to think about adopted children too much. For as long as they got a loving home and they were treated kind, and they were okay with it, then I was okay with it. We even have an adopted child in my family. He's a grown man now. When I was out in Vegas, I was with him and his mom. Remember, I told y'all I went to Vegas to live for a while? I lived with his mom, his adopted mom, who would have been the brother, Sandy, that passed away at 49, who played professional football and later came back home and retired from the LTI. That was his second marriage, and they adopted Joey. Okay? Joey was always happy from the time he came home from the hospital. His mom was a nurse there, and he was probably a couple of weeks old when he came into the family. As soon as he was released from the hospital, they brought him home. He is my nephew. Ain't nothing adopted about him because he's been with us since a baby. Thank you, Miss Jackie, for taking the trolls out because we're just not too interested in what they have to say. And I do appreciate you coming in, and I don't want them to break up our commentary and our discussion over here today. So thank you so much for being here. Hey, Miss Joy, how are you? So I'm going to get into the commentary of what I found about a very interesting set of twins. And let's discuss it. By the way, is anybody that's in the chat right now, hey, Surrender, are you a twin or have you been adopted? Because you might not be ready. It's a very interesting story. It's a happy ending. So I don't want to offend anybody or bring back any bad memories for anybody if you're not where you need to be in life right now and over it, okay? That window always gives me, I'm going to have to, let me see if I can put the phone over here on this side and see if that'll be better. I'm choosing to come into the bedroom, but the lighting is not as great as it is in the living room because of the window. But I think we okay. I think we okay. So the next thing you know, I'm half blind and can't see. So we need some glasses. Okay, let's see. Who else is here? All right. So I wrote me some notes because, I'm getting old and I don't want to be forgetful and all that. And telling stuff and not telling the whole thing and nothing but truth. Miss Jackie saying, I'm not a twin, but I gave birth to twins. Okay, Miss Jackie, so you're a mother of twins. Hey, Tater, good morning. Welcome to Chatting with Ms.V this morning. So the story starts out with growing up as a twin. They were always dressed alike, which a lot of parents do. And they look like bookends to me. When you put the books in the middle and you have a bookend here and a bookend there, those bookends always match. Hey, Miss Beverly, Lady Justice. And so they were adopted by foster parents. These twins were put up for adoption shortly after birth, and they went into the system and were adopted out the system to foster parents. 2 girls, okay? And they referred to their mom and dad as mama and daddy. They did not know that they were adopted until they were 8 years old. And they did not get their papers to actually see the adoption papers until they were 18 years old. Surrender says, grandmother has 3 sets of twins. Oh, wow. 3 sets of twins. There's some strong women out there. This ain't one when it comes to that. I think I'm a strong woman. But when it came to birthing 3 sets of twins, I don't know about that, Surrender. Hey, my Riri, how you doing? Okay. So let's keep on with the story as it goes. So when they were first adopted, like I said, they didn't find out until they were 8 or 9 years old. Thank you, Miss Jackie, for speaking to everybody so I don't have to keep stopping in the middle of it. Okay. They, like any other set of twins who are adopted, or individuals for that matter, you want to know who your folks are. You want to know where you came from. Even if somebody else in the family raised you and it wasn't your mother and or father, everybody wants to know. It's that question in your mind as something is not resolved. I wanted to say my daughter's great grandmother on her dad's side had 11 children, 4 sets of twins. I ain't never heard of people having that many twins. I'm so glad y'all came in here this morning. Wow. So every time, no, she had 11 children, so not every time. 4 times 2 is 8. So 8 of those 11 children were twins. Hi, Rasa. We're discussing it's a story about, a true story about twin girls that their mother gave them up for adoption. So let's see how the story goes, and then I'll get back into the chat. Okay. So their mother had the twins. She was 14 years old at the time she got pregnant. On the twins' minds was questions like probably we would all have. They wanted to know who their real mother was. And something struck me right there as to they never questioned who the father was, but it's always who is my mother? Who gave birth to me? Not who fertilized the seed. The sperm that fertilized the mother's egg is what I'm trying to say. That's not a concern. So that was a question in my mind as I was looking at the story as to why is it always you want to know who your mother is. Okay? Who the real mom is and why she gave you up for adoption. People are just inquisitive about that. And the sad part about the whole situation is that sometimes they never find out. They don't know. In my case, in my family, with Joey knew he was adopted at a very early age. We didn't hide it from him. But he had 2 sets of families in the same small town where we came from that he grew up with. His mother's side of the family and my side of the family. Okay? Hey, Kenya. So, excuse me, y'all. That is just a question that's going to be in your mind until you get the answers that you need to go on with your life. Some people walk through life and it's okay. They can put it behind them and just live their lives and have families and show love, and it's okay. Hey, Holistic, good to see you. They went on a search to find out who they were, where they came from. And the big question, hey, Corey, is why they were put up for adoption. The interesting thing about this whole story here is that this story is about 60 something years old. They were about 65 years old when they went out searching for their biological mother. I found out by reading it that during those times when they were born, most twins were separated. When people came to adopt, they didn't adopt both of them. They would normally adopt one of them. These twins were named Shirley and Sheila. Once they were told they were adopted, they spoke about it to each other, but they never ever brought it forth to their adopted parents, which they call mama and daddy. So as they aged, after they had found out they were adopted at 18 and they actually saw the adoption papers, then they knew a little bit about themselves. And they were able to go into a place where they paid to go and find their real mother. They sent out hundreds of letters to people last name Mitchell with no resolve. They still didn't know where they came from. They just knew that their biological last name would have been Mitchell. So the hiring agent got on her job and decided she was going to find as much information as she could to lead them to where they came from. The mother, again, was only 14 years old, and she was from Mercer County, New Jersey. So the agency they went to started the search. And you got to remember, this happened in 1938. That's a long time ago. To try to come up 65 years and don't even know if the mama is alive or dead at this point. But it didn't matter to them because they had to have the answer as to why she gave them away. Hey, Nana, good morning. Next, the search goes on to looking for this mother. So she went to Vital Statistics and she was able to find a marriage record, because that was going to be the next problem. If the mother had not married, it would have been easier to find her. But in the event that she had got married, which she did, then that was going to make it a little harder because the last name had changed. So they found a Charlotte Mitchell, which ended up being the mother. Their mom was alive. She had had 2 other children, which would have been their sister and brother. And the sister had been looking for her sisters, the twins, for over 20 years and had never found them. So they were trying to connect, but the time, I guess, just wasn't right. So the story goes on that when the mother got pregnant, she was in foster care. She went into foster care when she was about 6 months old. So that's the only life she ever knew up until the time she got pregnant at 14. She was forced to make a decision because she was a ward of the state. They found the marriage record for Charlotte Mitchell and found that she had been married to a William Dash. Miss Charlotte was contacted by the agency that the twins had hired and confirmed that she was the mother of the twins. So it's going into a happy ending here. She agreed to meet with the lady from the agency. As I was watching the video, she had a very nice home environment. Her two children, of course, are now grown. So it's just her there. It didn't say if her husband had passed away or if he wasn't there. That wasn't told. But as the agency questioned her, told her, why they were there, they contacted her first by phone and asked her, would she agree to talk to them? And of course, they told her why. And she agreed. She wanted to see her twins. She wanted to be with them. She didn't have a choice at 14 years old. That jumped out at me because I went back to 14 and I'm thinking, if I had been pregnant, living in foster care, and then I had to make a decision at 14 years old, I don't think I could have done that. I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have been a basket case, me. So that's why she placed the kids in foster care, because she didn't have a choice. Either they were going to have to go to foster care, and she had to move too. She had to move out of her foster home with the only mother that she knew. This mother had 5 daughters, foster daughters, in the home with her. She was one of 5. And once she got pregnant, she had to move into another facility. The agency lady asked her, did she know the guy who got her pregnant? And her answer was, hey, Movado. No, she knew of him. He wasn't from the same city or the same town. They met in passing. And this is what happened. Almost like a one-night stand kind of situation. She was a ward of the state at that point. So she was placed in Florence Clinton home in New Jersey. A decision had to be made at that time. The question was, are you going to give your children up for adoption? She said she thought about it for a little while. Hey, Shatika. But she had to take a little time to think about it. She didn't know what to do. She didn't even know she was having twins. She just knew she was pregnant with child. So this life-changing decision came about at that time. And it was to give them up for adoption, or they would be placed in foster care. So she didn't have much of a choice. So by her being placed in a foster home and what she had to go through as a foster child, she did not want her children separated. So I think that was a very good decision on her part at the time, and she was only 14 years old. Got to keep that in mind, how young she was to make a decision like that. Pregnant with twins and living in a foster home and having to make a decision on where your children are going to be placed. So by her not wanting the kids being separated, that was a choice she made. And luckily, the parents of the twins, their adopted parents, adopted both of them. So they always grew up together. They said that they had a very happy home, that their father was very strict on them. The mother was, both of them were very kind. It's just that the father was very strict. And these two ladies grew up to be happy together never really separated until 18 when they both kind of went their own ways with their life, but they kept a bond between them. They are not identical twins, they fraternal twins, but they resemble each other. One was a little lighter than the other, one was a little darker, but to me, they looked much alike. But I could still tell they were fraternal because you could see a difference in their facial features, but yet they were still dressed alike in their 60s. And they communicated every day. And I just thought that the story was really interesting because of people who are adopted and the thoughts that must be going through their head until they get that answer. And how people can come from so many different backgrounds of life. And you can I'm going to speak for me. I can always tell if it was a happy home by their behavior, or if they still have questions about their life, again, by behavior. Your behavior tells a lot about you. When you are happy, when you are at peace, it shows. When you have problems or questions about your identity, about your life, it shows. There's not much hiding it. It's going to come out. And the old saying that the foster mother said to these twins was, when she asked, to the mother, when she asked the mother, was she pregnant? She said no. And she said the reason why she said no was because she was afraid to death to tell her foster mother that she was pregnant. So the old saying that this foster mom told her daughter was, what doesn't come out in the wash will come out in the rinse. And I thought that was very interesting because growing up as a child, I was told that. And I can remember that. When my mom was sitting down talking to me about something one day, and I was telling her what had happened, she told me, don't worry about it. And she told me that exact thing. Never worry about things like that. Never worry about what people say about you. What's done in the dark will come out in the light. What's doesn't come out in the wash will come out in the rinse. Those old sayings are very true today. The story ends that they find their adopted mom in New Jersey, still in the same town, and she wanted to meet them. So she wrote a letter to them. Hey, Miss Carolyn, good morning. She wrote a letter to the twins, and she told them, basically in the letter, what I've told you, and that she would love to meet them. And the twins couldn't wait to get there to meet their biological mom. The story ends with they find out they have a brother and a sister. The sister who had been looking for them for over 20 years. And it ends pleasant. And today they are happy because they have found out who they are and where they came from. They did not hold any animosity against their mom for giving them up. They understood it because these are 60-year-old women now. They are no longer children anymore. And they were just so blessed to be able to meet her, and she was still alive. Okay, so that's the end of the story. That's basically it. That's what one of my subscribers wanted me to talk about this morning. So I just happened to go Googling and searching, and I found that story, and it's a true story. And I thought, wow, this can tie that whole thing up as to why adopted children have a lot of questions, sometimes for life, unanswered questions. Foster care, kids who have come out of foster care, their life story, and how they adjust in society without having their biological parents, and how you can live your life happily just with a few questions being answered. I never ever wanted to hide anything about my life to my child. I say my children because I told you I raised my stepson. They knew whatever. Okay, yes, this is the second marriage. This was the first marriage. If you have a question as to why we broke up, when that time comes, I'm going to tell you where you can really understand. But am I ever going to try to turn you against your father, your biological father, and his family? No, I didn't. And we're still family today. Even though I haven't been in that family, oh God, it's been over 30 years. He still has brothers and sisters. We're over on Facebook together. We see each other all the time. We're family. I have a child for that family. I don't like it when people break up and then the child gets caught up in the middle of stuff when they ain't have nothing to do with it. They ain't even asked to be here. That was a choice we made. But I think if you don't tell them the truth and they do find out the truth, it's going to be some disrespect there for you. So that's something I never, hey, Miss Cynthia 06, I never wanted to do. And I didn't. So she knows both sides of the family. And then I made sure she knew my side of the family, which was all back in Louisiana at the time, by letting her go to my mom's house every summer when she was a small kid to learn who her cousins were, her grandmama, her granddaddy, my brothers, my sister. That was important to me. I grew up like that. I didn't grow up in a broken home. I grew up with a mother and father who were together 50 plus years before their demise. And it bothered me in the beginning because that's not the way I grew up. So I always kind of sheltered her with more love because I always felt like the father was missing in the home, even though I married again and she had a stepfather who was a blessing to her because he just stepped in and just went on like he was the real father. Even in the end, when it came down to her going to college, he even asked her as a 17-year-old, could he adopt her? The reason being, he had raised her from the age of 4. He was military. She could have gone to school on his military benefits, and we wouldn't have had to been paying out of pocket. She said no, and we respected that. So, hey, Boopaloop, how you doing? Welcome to Chatting with Ms.V. And life went on. Today, she has 2 daddies. She always called her stepfather daddy. She called her daddy daddy. So she was blessed, in my opinion, to have 2 men in her life that she could call daddy, and she respected them both as that. They were in the motorcycle club together, her biological father and her stepfather, and were friends. That made it even better because her biological father never had a problem coming to the house, whether we were there or not there, after she got to be a teenager and she could be there by herself. She might call me sometimes and tell me daddy's coming by. I have to say, which daddy? Steve. I was like, oh, okay. All right. So I just feel like it's important for kids to grow up with the truth about who they are and where they came from. because it will affect them in their adult life if they don't have a clue who they really are. Let me get into the chat and see what y'all are talking about this morning. Make sure I spoke to everybody. Yeah, you see it, huh, Fanny? We were talking about the weather back then. I don't like days like this because all I want to do is just lounge around, lay in the bed, read. I'm not too much of a TV watcher. I do more reading than I do watching TV. Get on the phone with one of my friends, see how they doing. You know, get out if I have to. I got the fireplace burning, so it'll be a cozy little snuggly day with the sheets and the covers with me. Down, y'all are still speaking. Miss Jackie says she has her coffee. What I did with mine? My coffee is always cold when I get off my line. A lot of trolls came in. I appreciate you, Miss Jackie, for taking them out so they wouldn't break up the conversation we got going on here. I'm looking for comments now. Miss Jackie says, I'm not a twin, but I gave birth to twins. And I remember talking to you, Miss Jackie, and you were telling me that. I always wanted twins when I was in the childbearing stage. For some reason, my mom had twins. She had 7 sisters, and each one of those 7 sisters had a set of twins, except for my Aunt Lila. She didn't have twins, and my Aunt Ophelia. But the rest of them had twins in the family. And I've always heard, never did research on this, but I was always told that twins skip a generation. I don't know if that's true or not. I'd have to stop and research that to find out. I don't know. Um, my brother that adopted Joey was a twin, Raymond and Naaman. And I told y'all, Naaman passed away. I never met him. That's the brother I never met because he passed away before I was born. And so I never met him. But I do know that my brother and I were very, very close, looked a lot alike. And we talked about that before he passed away. And he said it was always something longing, and he felt like it was something missing. A part of him was missing. So today they back together again. There's a long grave and one little short one, and they're side by side. So they back together again. And I always told you I felt like my mom was such a strong woman, and I get my strength from her because she buried 3 of her children and her husband before she passed away. And she sit there on that front seat like a Jackie O. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, and never shed a tear, and was able to speak over each and every one of them. My mom was a silent crier. She would go in the bathroom and lock the door. I can remember as a child, whenever she was sad or whenever something had happened, but we never saw her shed those tears. Hey, Junior, how are you? Miss Beverly? I'm trying to speak to everybody I miss speaking to. And thank y'all for hitting the like button this morning. I appreciate that. Miss Lawana says, my daughter's great-grandmother on her dad's side had 11 children. Yes, and you said 4 sets of twins. Ooh-wee. She had trouble. She had 4 sets of twins, which meant that she brought 2 babies home 4 times. I can't even imagine that. That's over my head, LaWanda. Welcome, Raza, for coming in. Miss Jackie say twins run in my family. Okay. And like I said, I wanted twins so bad. I wanted boys. Didn't necessarily want a girl, not first. I wanted a girl, but not first. And That's what the good Lord gave me. So I was satisfied once I checked her out. The doctors checked out everything, all fingers, toes, brain working like it's supposed to. I'm good. I'm good. The thought went away. But I always thought I was carrying a boy. I just wanted a boy. My best friend is adopted. She never wanted to know. She said her parents have a good life and those are her parents. Okay, some kids do and some kids really don't. They're not interested in that. And if they grew up in a good home and they okay with that, then they can live their life productively and not worry about it. It bothers some people it really doesn't. Okay, we're going on down. I spoke to you, Kenya, and you said they were asked about the dad too. Okay, I adopted my youngest son. Okay, Kenya. And I'm sure, knowing you, he had a very good home and upbringing because that's the way Joy was. I mean, nobody never talked about him being adopted. All the kids, they grew up together as first cousins. My brother's kids, and my child. And they didn't look at him any different. He was the baby in that bunch that grew up with my daughter. And they all just took care of him like that was their baby. Even when they were playing outside, I can remember my daughter was always smothering him to death. No, Joey, put that down, Joey. Come on, Joey, and packing him around. Corey said, I miss when she would try to fit different objects in her belly button on string. Who are you talking about, Corey? What are you talking about? Come back. Hey, yo, how you doing? Uh, Miss Betty, good morning to you. And I spoke to you, Nana. Miss Jean, all the way from the UK this morning. Good morning. How are you? Okay, let's see. I'm looking for another comment here. Ms.V, that was one of my mom's favorite quotes. Yeah, I think that's that old school stuff, holistic. And it stuck around for a long time. You don't hear much anymore unless you hear it from somebody our age that, came up with those quotes. Yep. Bapaloop says that is so sweet. My father adopted my half brother, but he didn't stick around, so he really shouldn't have adopted him. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. If he should, if he shouldn't, because you got to think, what type of environment was he in when your father adopted him? And how was it even after he left? Was it better than where he came from? Did he bond with y'all as a family? Because you probably were the only family that he grew up with and that he knew. I see what you're saying that he probably shouldn't because he left, but I got to look at it in different ways too, as to where he came from when your father adopted him. Was he being abused? Why was he left behind? I would have questions there. Miss G say, interesting story, Miss V. I thought it was. And I thought it's something different I could come out and share with y'all this morning. My girls will be 34 next week. Wow. That's a blessing, Miss Jackie. Twins would be a nightmare. This is Boopaloop. Twins would be a nightmare. Two babies crying at the same time. Nope, not for me. But what if you had twins? You just had to deal with it. That's the way I looked at it. I mean, I really wanted twins. And I want boys. Because I saw how close my mom had 5 boys. And I saw how close they were to their mother. And how they basically looked for wives like their mother. And They did things for their wives just like they did for their mothers. They never, ever disconnected from my mom. Never. The two before me, the twin that ended up being a single, and my baby brother that I took care of that had the kidney failure and passed away, those two would come down every morning and eat breakfast with my mom. She'd get up every morning and cook breakfast for them. My father had already passed away at that time. So they would come and spend about an hour with her every morning and eat and talk over breakfast. They were that close. And then the oldest brother lived next door to her. He built his house next door to his mom and dad. So she saw him every day, all day long, and his children had a path through the yard where grass wouldn't grow, going to grandma's house. My sister's best friend had two sets of twins and a set of triplets. What? Oh, that's a lot of children at one time. That's multiples. Oh my, she had to have help with them. I don't see how one person can take care of two sets of twins and a set of triplets. That's a lot of babies. That's like a little daycare. Miss Jackie say, Boopaloop, it was fun and hard work. I can just imagine. When my mom had her twins, they all lived in the same town. All of her sisters and her brothers. Her mother lived up the street from her, so she had a lot of help. And then my grandmother and grandfather always lived with us until they passed away. So she always had my father's mother there to help her and her father-in-law. So she had a lot of help with all of us. We grew up with lots of family taking care of us. I'm sure it would be amazing in some ways, but having one baby is a scary enough idea for me. So Betty Boopaloo, do you have children? Have you had children? That's interesting because you sound like it's a little bit scary. And maybe it could be. I was older when I had my daughter. I was 25 when I got married, first time, and I was 27 when I had her. So I was a mature lady at the time. I wasn't a young teenage person or a young 20-ish old person having children. I was approaching my 30s. So I never looked at it as scary at all. Mm-mm. I had her natural. My mom and dad were not there with me. They had plans to be there because we thought she was going to come a little bit sooner, but she came 2 weeks later. My brother, Sandy, got married on the same day she was born. So they were at the wedding where she was born, not having any medications or anything. I was able to call the church and they could announce it at the wedding that she had a bouncing baby girl, 7 pounds, 14 ounce baby girl. And she was healthy and she was fine. They all left the wedding. My brother was supposed to be going on his honeymoon. He postponed it and brought my mom and my dad down to see the baby. And they stayed with me a week. And then they left me, my brother, and new sister-in-law and went on their honeymoon. She was born right before Christmas, December the 19th. So that was a great Christmas present for everybody. And everybody was there to see the baby. Oh, you don't have children yet. You're 28. It's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be scary at all. I mean, whatever you have to go through, even if you have to go through a C-section. I never had a C-section. My daughter had a C-section with her two children. And I was there for her. I flew into Nashville where one of the babies was born and into Birmingham where the other baby was born. And she never showed any fear or being afraid or scared or anything. And the babies were fine. I stayed there with her, with the first one, until she went back to her 6 weeks checkup. And I had just got married to my last husband. And I flew down from Baltimore to Nashville and stayed with her because I knew my child didn't know nothing about what she was getting ready to go through. I was actually out in Vegas with my family out there. My entire family went to a wedding of Joey, the little adopted one. And we were at his wedding. When we left his wedding, she called, Mom, you need to come on. I told her, I said, I'm in Vegas. I'm going to fly back into Baltimore. I'm going to repack my suitcase and I'm leaving up out of there the same day. I had bought the ticket, but I was just waiting on her to give me the call. So that's what I did. I flew back from Vegas from Joey's wedding, went back into Baltimore, dropped one suitcase, packed another suitcase, and flew out to Nashville. And she had the baby that night. I got there that evening and she had the baby that night. The hospital she was in, they had birthing rooms in there. So she would have gave birth in the room, but when it came down to the end, she ended up with a C-section. So she couldn't do that. Um, let's see. Boopaloo says, I am 28, but I still worry about having a child. So much responsibility, and I still don't have my life together without kids. Don't You just told me what you don't need to do. You don't need to have kids if you don't have your life together. It would be a bigger responsibility. It's always a responsibility when you birth a child, and it's your responsibility to take care of them. Whether the father is there or not there, it's your responsibility as a mother. But you just told me something. If you don't have your life together, I wouldn't advise that under no circumstances. Get your life together and be ready. A lot of times we are not ready as parents, but we have to get ready. And a real mother will. I was a twin, Miss V. She passed in 2011. I remember you telling me that, Jean. Yes. Miss Jean is from the UK. And she says she's a twin or was a twin also. I guess you always a twin, whether they here or whether they're not here. And my condolences. Sorry to hear that, Miss Jean. The disconnect must be great because y'all have been together forever, ever since you were conceived. Jean Hurst, that must have been so hard. Sorry for your loss. Yes. Thank you, Boopaloop. And Miss Jackie saying sorry for your loss also. Well, how about that? We're coming up on our hour. Great discussion. Thank y'all for coming in today. Thank you for hitting that like button. I appreciate it. I'll be back later on with another great topic, but right now, work is calling, duty is calling, and I'm off. So I got to go write an email to them and make sure it gets there today. I will be back later on this afternoon. Y'all take care. Let's see what Ricardo says. He wants to talk about Diddy. Ricardo, can you come back and we'll talk about Diddy in the next discussion? I don't want to mix Diddy with what we're talking about right now. Let me see what you want to talk about. Okay, you want to talk about Diddy. You are an artist. He has made it hard for you. Before we gave but now we have to make really good songs to get a contract. What are your thoughts? Okay, that'll be our next conversation then. We'll talk about you. Make sure you come back in now, Ricardo. And we'll talk about the music industry and what's going on and where he is right now, perhaps what problems that it has caused for y'all, and just maybe it should be around, I don't know. I want to say this evening, okay? Because last night I came on and I did a live, late night live, had almost 1,200 people in the live. I had more people in the middle of the night because You get a lot of people that are up late at night, like I was, didn't want to go to sleep, and popped off. And I was like, 1,200 people in the live? Okay, but we'll talk about that. That'll be our topic of conversation this afternoon. Okay, Ricardo? Miss Jackie say, great live, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your day, everyone, from Miss Carolyn. Yes, it was very sad. I think of her often, and I'm sure she'll be with you until the end. Good morning, Sting. You coming in? I'm going out. All right. So I'll see you guys later on this afternoon. So our topic of conversation will be about the music industry. Okay. Since Ricardo came in and wanted to talk about it this morning, and I really just don't have the time, and I don't want to incorporate it into this live. This live is totally about adopted twins, foster care, and a story about a mother who gave up her twins as a foster child. Okay? Y'all take care and we'll see each other later. Much love to you. Have a good day.